It's on. Hello. Okay, it is on. Well, turn that down a little. My name is Devon Ferreira. I have the distinct pleasure of leading the marketing team at Ava Labs, and just so excited to be here. We've seen some really good panel discussions this week, but this is one that I've been really looking forward to. We've got some really special guests, and we're here to talk about something really fun and interesting. So, first up, you've probably seen him on some of the earlier panels. Sorry. Everybody's excited. You've probably seen him on some of our earlier panels. This is a gentleman that is moving the intersection of art and blockchain forward at a rapid pace. Our friend from Open Studios, Jaeson Ma. We also have a couple of special guests that are actually beaming in from various parts of the globe. First up is Joseph. Do we have Joseph online? Somebody's asleep over there today. No questions. There we go. Hey, Joseph, can you hear us? We can't hear you. Oh, you on mute?
I'm talking.
There you go. We can hear you now. Okay, good. We got you up. Jillian, how about you? Can we hear you?
I hope so. I can hear you guys.
Fantastic. So, if you don't know, if you've ever watched any kind of Taylor Swift music video, Britney Spears, Lady Gaga, those music videos were probably made by this man here, Joseph Kahn. Please give him a nice Avalanche welcome.
And I just want to say, literally every music video that you danced to, did drugs to, got drunk to, watched over and over again, from all of Taylor Swift's to Eminem to Dr. Dre to Britney Spears to Justin Timberlake, literally, this guy is the king and god of music videos, Joseph Kahn worldwide. One more clap. Guys, we're very, very excited.
CJ, that's why I brought you on stage with me right up front, because nobody gives introductions like you do. So, speaking of which, also another distinguished guest, coming in live from the States, we have none other than Jillian Rothman from Warner Music Group. This is a woman that sits at the intersection of crypto and music, and she's helping to take the whole industry forward. So, welcome, Jillian.
Oh.
And now. So this is a crypto event, and so this will be particularly important when I say it. This next guest has the single distinction of having the most YouTube views out of anybody that's a speaker at this event. And, we all know how we prize our YouTube views.
She's also one of the distinguished artists that has had more than 1 billion streams on a single song, multi-billion streams for Sweet But Psycho. If you know the song, again, if you partied to it, got drunk to it, had a good time with it. Da-na-na-na. You guys know that track, but you also know Kings and Queens. Everybody, play this track. If you know it, sing along. Everyone welcome Ava Max to Avalanche Summit 2022. Let's go.
Hello, everybody.
All right. So this should be fun. Why don't we just get started, Joseph? Maybe you could get us kicked off. Just tell us the story. What are we doing? This is an interesting panel. Just talk a little bit about the genesis of this conversation. How do we get here?
Well, I'm a crypto investor, and I've been following. It's a little tricky because I hear myself echo, so I'm going to turn off my speaker. I hope that'll work. So I've been following crypto for a bit, and I fell upon Ava Max for an investment fund that I'm part of, and as I discovered the technology, initially I was really just into the crypto phase of it as an investor and just trying to make as much money as possible, as a hobby really. Then I started learning about smart contracts and NFTs, and it just occurred to me that the Web3 thing has some serious implications for our industry in music and video, and it's an interesting thing because it's in the genesis. I don't think that anyone's quite really figured it out yet, but the entire idea of a smart contract applied to, say, music in a music video, it occurred to me that there's some wild things that could be occurring, like the entire idea of maybe you could stake a song. Maybe you could actually share the possibility of people of the fan base coming in there and putting money into it and staking it and making interest off it. Just these wild things that can happen off a decentralized blockchain when you start applying it to our art form. So that was always kind of a thing that was in the back of my mind. But then as I was doing other music videos, I tried to figure out like how to incorporate that, or at least connect the two pieces together. And the funny thing is that Avax is one of my top 3 investments in crypto, and then I was doing a video with Ava Max. And it's just kind of this weird combination where I thought
Avax, Ava Max.
So
Going into
Two extra
coincidence.
letters, yeah.
and that's where it all started, really. It's a weird coincidence. It's not the only thing, but there was a little bit of a serendipity there.
Yeah, and obviously Open Studios has played a role in that. So for the folks that don't know about that, talk a little bit about what you're trying to do with Open Studios, Jaeson, and how you see NFTs and their role in helping creators change the way that they're creating and also reach their fans.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know Open, it's a platform to launch IPs and communities in Web3. We're actually very honored to have Warner Music as one of our investors. Warner Music is also one of the largest music labels in the world that also owns Atlantic Records, which Ava is on. And what we see now is that the NFT allows for a new window of revenue. It doesn't actually compete with the traditional music industry, it only adds. And so traditionally in Web 2, you get your streaming capital or your revenues from DSPs, digital streaming platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, Tidal, et cetera, but that streaming revenue is only one, I would say, vertical of revenue, where now NFTs, you can actually sell that to your fans before the music even comes out. And it's not just about giving them music like a pre-listening party. They get to access that music for the NFT, but they actually get membership access. They get special perks. They get to go to a red carpet. They get to go to a secret party. Coachella, we saw this year. If you guys know Coachella, which we have a stage on this year for 88 Rising, they sold 100 NFT passes as golden ticket passes, and they sold out in literally seconds. That whoever got these 100 Coachella passes had lifetime access to Coachella. So whether it was made out of mud or an NFT, it doesn't matter. They just want the access.
Yeah.
So I think in many ways there's utility, there's exclusive access, but more than anything else, it's now about building your fan base community directly into your ecosystem from day one versus just streaming music and not knowing who's actually listening to it. So at Open, we're creating the UI UX for artists like Ava, other artists, that they can actually connect with their fans, engage with their fans, not just with their music, but with their whole entire brand ecosystem.
Yeah, so disintermediation, right? And every disruptive technology is really about that fundamentally. And so you're disrupting it as an innovator, but from a record label standpoint, what is Warner Music's, feeling on this whole thing? And really ahead of Web3 and crypto for a label? What's going on here? What are you guys doing in this conversation? Jillian.
We're really, really excited about it. I think NFTs, sort of just like any other Web3 protocol, any other technology, whether it's a POAP, the Zora protocol, or Open's platform, are really just another tool and another way that artists can tap into new technologies to help with their storytelling, to help them create content, to help them connect with fans. And so if an artist is interested in creating community of their most loyal fans, NFTs and crypto are really a way to do that. So we see this as a way to learn as much as we can, to make as many partnerships as we can, and so we can really build with our artists.
Well, speaking of artists, and we've had you on stage for a few minutes now, but we haven't had a chance to hear from you. So let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk a bit about how things get started. I think just from Avalanche's perspective, we've grown so much as a community and things happen really fast, but the results that are now coming to fruition are really the results that were born by effort put in a long time ago. And so along those lines, there's no such thing as an overnight success. Talk a little bit about your journey. How did you get started in the music business?
I started singing at a very young age. I was about 6 or 7 when I first started singing with my mom, and my mom sang opera, and I would sing with her. And then I started doing singing competitions, which kind of gave me a bit of a platform then when nothing was really digital. And I think it just like felt like home. I didn't want to do anything else. And after that, my family and we came to California in LA and tried it out for a year when I was 14, but nobody wanted to sign a 14-year-old girl, even if she could sing. It's tough. At the end of the day, where I think talent should matter, it's not always the case. So then we went back east, and I kept doing school, and that's it. I kept thinking about music. I'm like, I want to go back to LA, I want to continue this career. And at 18, I went back, and then we just kind of settled in LA. That's our home now, and it took about, it took another 5-6 years until I got signed. It takes a minute. It's never an overnight thing. I wrote over 100 songs, and I really worked hard at everything. You have to.
How difficult has it been adjusting to like the business side of things? Because as a creator, you're so focused on your talents, but how much does that get in the way, and how much of a frustration is it for you personally, or is that something that you're okay with?
It's tough because I have such a creative mind where when I see things my way, it's hard to put it down on paper sometimes, or work with people who maybe just see it as a business way, and I'm like trying to kind of figure out how to do it both ways, to make everybody happy and everyone's opinions happy, but also keep true to my creative, which is tough sometimes.
And I suppose that's what it's all about, right? Is staying close to what you're trying to bring to the world. So, Joseph, you've seen this from many vantage points with many different artists, right? And so, if you look at the way that the industry is designed today, what about it is not working well for artists, and is something that Web3 can help to change for the better? Joseph, we can't hear you. I think you're still on mute.
Joseph, try turning on the microphone.
You might have muted yourself, Joseph. Well, while we're figuring that out, Jay, maybe you want to take that question for us. You've also seen it. I mean, you've worked with a lot of different creators, and what about the industry do you think makes it hard for them?
Well, I think in general, it's never easy for an artist to get discovered, especially with all the noise today. You would think that with YouTube and with SoundCloud, it's easier for discovery, but actually there's a lot more noise. And so for them to actually get the limelight, get discovered, have an A&R like an Atlantic or a Warner, discover you, sign you, that process now just has so many musicians out in the ether that it's hard to cut through the noise and actually really find where real talent is getting recognized, has a real fan base that they can truly engage, and then there isn't real access and data around that. So for instance, like I was saying, I had a TikTok artist that I met recently, and she was signed to a major label. She then got dropped after three years. Album never came out. She had 2 billion views on one of her music video songs on TikTok, and she literally looked at me and said, I've barely even seen $1,000 from TikTok. And then secondly, she's like, I have about, more than 300,000 followers on TikTok, but she's like, I don't know how to talk to them. So one, they don't really know who their fans are, right? Outside of being on tour, on a stage. And Web2 is very lateral, meaning it's just one way. You may have millions of followers on Instagram, but you don't really engage with them directly. You don't really know who they are outside of little comments and tweets, and you don't know what's real and what's not, right? On top of that, you're not getting the data from the digital streaming platforms or even YouTube, where you actually know by location, oh, these are my fans in Austin, these are my fans in Jacksonville, these are my fans in San Francisco. So what the smart contract and the blockchain can do is actually give full transparency now, because when they buy an NFT connected to a wallet address, you now know, oh, these are the number of fans I have in this city, in this region, in this locale, in this country. And from that, you can actually go direct, airdrop, right? Give them swag, give them, different types of access, tickets, merch, whatever that might be. And so I think with that data and with that access and that transparency, an artist like Ava can now be direct with her fan base and truly have all the data to know exactly what they want, what they like, what they're listening to, and be able to go direct with them without having a middle layer. And just being frank with you, YouTube takes over 50%, Spotify takes over 70%. I have a music label called 88 Rising. Every 100 million streams on Spotify, we only get paid $300,000. So once you pay everybody out, it's not that much to go around. So for the ability for artists to make more revenue through digital assets, not just physical assets, not just regular merch, but now digital merch, is a huge win. And it's a huge plus, and it's a whole new category to be discovered.
Yeah, I'm curious to know the label's position on that. You know, how is this changing the business model for you guys, Jillian?
So I agree with everything Jason just said, but I actually think it's more than just that. It's also the ability to be able to cater to those super fans, so you can still be on Spotify, you can still be in these broadcast platforms, you can still do things that hit mainstream audiences and targets them, but now you can also do something really crazy and creative that normally a label or a team would be like, I don't have a budget for that because only 10 people want to buy that. Well, now guess what? We can target those 10 people and actually do the crazy thing you want to do, and those 10 people will want to participate, will want to buy it, will want to support. So it's not just that we don't think this is going to replace the current industry or completely, disenfranchise all these other partners in this and the ecosystem we have now, but it just lets us do more. And the thing is, most of the artists I work with, and I was really fortunate to my first ever metaverse project was actually with Ava and her team on a Roblox event, and it was awesome. And I was so surprised how into it they were, because it was the first time Roblox was doing anything like this. It was the first time we were doing anything like this, and I was so scared about how it would go, but they were just as into it as we were because they saw that this was a new way to reach fans, a new way to use technology, and a new way to storytell and create content. And that's all this is too. It's just new tools to do the stuff we're already good at, but to finally be able to do it well and for the right audiences.
I just want to agree with Jillian that it's not really about a replacement or disruption, it's an extension. And so the metaverse is an extension for the music industry. NFTs is an extension for merchandise and being able to access experiences that they couldn't have done before. And so I don't know, Joseph, are you working now?
Am I working?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Joseph,
Come on
yes.
Yeah. The thing I'm actually very interested in is some of the hypothetical stuff that can happen in the future. Like one of the biggest things I think that's interesting about the whole NFT crypto thing is that it feels, I'm saying this in a good way, cultish. It's like a series of cults, and different people have different loyalties and different theories, and it's almost like a different type of religion for different people. But what I noticed in that world is that music itself is very cult-like. Like every artist I've ever worked with now has these huge brands and people that are extremely loyal to them, and these fans take personal stakes in the artist, to a point that it's very interesting in that sometimes they compare like the wealth of an artist to another artist. Like my artist had a better single than yours, and I sold a lot more records, but the artist did, not necessarily the fan. And the fan doesn't really have any sort of financial stake, but they're very proud of their artists making a lot of money for whatever particular reason. So I'm kind of wondering if there's a decentralized way of capitalizing on that for the fan. Is there a way for a fan to actually take partial ownership of like an NFT if music was done that way, and then they could stake it and put money into it, and all of a sudden you have this sort of community of people that are essentially taking advantage of the blockchain and actually becoming investors in the artists on each individual song and stuff like that. There's so many different applications to the smart contract in terms of where I see it going, that it's a very exciting proposition.
Exciting proposition, sure, and obviously there's a lot of interest. So why do you think artists are so excited about it? Why are you excited about NFTs? How do you see it changing things? You've heard from the label and from the innovators, but from an artist perspective.
Well, again, this is very new to me personally, but the whole space, and I love it because it gives artists like me, new innovative ways to put ourselves out there. And I think it's important as well for the fans to have a place where it kind of takes out the middleman in a way, essentially.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, I would say that imagine just listening to Ava's story backstage. She was you know, a new artist, 6 years as a writer, and it was hard to get discovered until you had that one hit song. Imagine if you discovered The Weeknd before he was The Weekend, but he was called The Weekday.
Got him on Thursday or something?
But you were able to buy The Weekday's NFT when he only had 10,000 followers before he had 10 million followers. And going back to what Joseph is saying, that NFT is about ownership, it's about membership, it's about an investment. And so you're no longer just a passive fan that just buys and gets and goes. You now become involved and a part of that artist's journey. So you watch and say, hey, I was there when he was at 10,000 fans. It's proved on the blockchain. Here's my address, guaranteed. And when he goes to 10 million and becomes The Weeknd, they grow in that upside. And it's a win-win partnership.
So the whole audience gets to participate in the journey, not just from the point where you've made it, but from the point where, bad time to call Nick Musalem, but from the point where you actually started to express yourself as an artist. So, great. I mean, Joseph, from your perspective, where do people get it wrong? Because I think, you know, like with any new idea or technology, people rush into the space. So what kind of things have you seen which are maybe things to avoid? And what are the hallmarks of a great NFT drop, in your view?
Well, I mean, it all comes down to distribution, and that's always been the question here. It's funny how crypto decentralized currency and essentially took it off the mainstream and created its own sort of its own thing. And for the longest time, if you think about music, you know, anyone can create a song, but the record industry developed because you had to distribute it somehow. And it used to be that you had to put it on, you know, actual vinyl, and you'd have to create this entire distribution channel to distribute the vinyl, right? And the vinyl had limited technology. You couldn't put video on it. So when we sell music, you know, if you think about the initial form of music, it was never something that you just listen to. You expected someone to sing it. You'd actually go somewhere and see somebody sing it. So the entire idea of hearing music without actually seeing something is actually kind of a new phenomenon. It was a technological limitation that created that idea. And so we created this whole channel of selling music by itself and going through distribution channels and creating stores and all that stuff. And record companies existed because of that. Then we went into Web 2, where you no longer needed the actual vinyl or tape or anything like that. And so when we went on there and eventually went into Spotify, it disrupted the industry and created a lot of confusion. And not only that, you know, when vinyl was created, the artist had a certain chunk. And now that we went into Web 2, the artist even makes less money. In fact, most artists nowadays make a whole lot less money per single than they ever did in their lifetime in the previous generation. Web 3, if it works the way I think it's going to, I think it flips it all again. Now the artist, I think, will have a possibility of making more per single, and not only that, the entire idea of the song as its own thing, I think that might be disrupted again, because when you're on, you know, the technological blockchain, it doesn't really matter that you're just selling a single. The music video now becomes the thing. In fact, most people, you know, the younger generation, expects to see visuals with the song. And people thought that was very strange, but if you go back to the ancient history of how music was created with somebody actually in a room, it's a very primal thing. You've got to see the singer and you've got to see who's singing it and who's playing it. And we're getting back to that. And so now there's this opportunity to sort of tie it all together, put it out in a more direct way, as Jason was talking about, and all the different ways that he's doing it with his company, and essentially flip it again. I know that Jason says it's not an extension, it's not a replacement for the record company, and I'm not an expert in any of that, but it seems way bigger to me than people are sort of talking about. It seems like a big flip just on a purely artistic level.
So do we see an explosion of content or a contraction of content?
Absolute explosion. Yeah. And to me, it's like what happened with YouTube when it unleashed it. If you can suddenly monetize every YouTube clip and have people have ownership of it, I mean, it's a game changer. It completely, to me, changes the entire idea of why you produce art, how you can make money off art, who gets to make art, who gets to control it, who gets to actually say you can make something and can't make something. It blows the lid off everything from my point of view.
Can I just say, Professor Joseph Kahn just gave you the entire history of music from Web 1 to Web 2 to Web 3. Give a hand clap to Joseph. That was amazing. Like, dude, like he literally just broke it down. Like, this is how the music industry worked from Web 1 to Web 2 to Web 3. And I gotta agree with you, Joseph. I think this is, in so many ways, a massive innovation because artists, through a transparent contract now, have literally infinite ways of monetizing, owning, and innovating on their ideas and their IP and their music. And not only themselves, but their actual listeners and fans. So this is a first time, because of technology, that it's not a one-way street. It truly takes two to tango, and where the artists and the fans literally come together and become one, and to support one another in whatever creative endeavor they want to be part of.
Okay, so if we take out a little crystal ball here and we look at the rest of 2022, we won't make any predictions beyond that because it's, too far out for crypto. But what do we have to look forward to in 2022, do you think, Jason? What kind of projects are we going to see?
I'm just going to send that question to you, Ava. Nothing to do with crypto. What's going on with your career in 2022? What's happening? Is there new music coming out? Is there a new album? What can we expect from Ava Max? Like, what's happening this year, next year?
Well, I'm super excited to tell you guys that Joseph Kahn and I actually created some magic recently on a new first single of my second album, which actually involves Avalanche and Ava Max. So we're really excited about it.
Oh yeah. Drop the mic.
So what's the date for that? Do we have a date for that yet?
Is there any? I don't know. Is there a name? Is there a?
Well, the new single is called Maybe You're the Problem.
Okay.
Yeah. You can kind of guess what it's about.
Amazing. So be on the lookout when the new single drops, new music video from the king himself, Joseph Kahn. And Jillian, what do you think's happening? I'm looking at you either on the screen here or there in 2022 for Warner Music and NFTs and innovation.
Hopefully really, really great bespoke projects with artists who are really into it and want to experiment, but also want to get dirty and are willing to invest the time and make it part of their long-term goals and careers. I think we really want to help artists enter the space and bring their fans with them, but we want to do it really thoughtfully, really be really patient about it, pick the right tools, pick the right partners, really cultivate communities. But there are a lot of artists hitting us up all the time to ask about it, Ava included. And so we are really excited to find ways to work with them, work with you guys, work with blockchains like Avalanche, partners like Open, and really change the music ecosystem, find new ways to create different kinds of content, different kinds of music communities, different kinds of relationships between artists and fans. I hope 2022 brings a lot of that.
And I just want to say one last thing, just real shout out to Jillian and the whole team at Warner Music for them to be able to embrace blockchain and NFTs at this early of the stage. We're just at the first inning. And for a major label like Warner to really be up here and saying, hey, we want to embrace this and really innovate together, I think says a lot. And so just
There's a lot about the space, and I mean, it's incredible. Just look at the names and the conversation we're having and who's on the stage. It's incredible how quickly the space is evolving, and we couldn't be happier to be doing it with all of you guys. So with that said, we're out of time, unfortunately, but I just want to say a hearty thank you on behalf of the whole Avalanche community for everybody on this panel. You're helping us take things forward, and we're blessed to have you.
And I say Avalanche is the future of music in Web3.
Yeah.
Yo, hand clap, let's go. All right, everyone give it up for Ava Max,
Thank
Joseph
you guys.
Kahn,
Thank you.
Warner Music Group, Jillian Rothman.